Artemi Panarin comes up clutch for the New York Rangers in a playoff-like game. The Breadman has a goal and a primary assist for the Rangers, and their 2-1 come-from-behind victory against the Carolina Hurricanes. One of the absolute best wins of the season for the New York Rangers. Igor Shesterkin also comes up big for the Rangers with 29 saves on 30 shots. All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 791 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And like I said, this was an awesome win for the New York Rangers. It's got to be like top 3, at least top 5 of the season. I think of all the games that the Rangers have played thus far in the regular season, this one, more than any of the rest of them, had more of a playoff-like environment than any other game, like I said, that the Rangers have played. They've now played 72 games. This one, to me, felt more like a playoff game than any of the preceding games. Just a ton of intensity right from the start. Both teams skating tremendously hard. Everything, pretty contested both ways. I mean, the Canes outshot the Rangers 30-16, so that was kind of unfortunate. But for the Rangers, it was quality over quantity. I thought both goalies were on top of their game. Like I said, this is just one of those games that had a big game feel to it. The crowd was electric. I was impressed by the road fans, the Carolina Caniacs or whatever they're called there. But it just had a big game feel to it right from the opening faceoff, and it was great to see the Rangers kind of pay the Canes back because obviously on Tuesday, the Rangers had the lead against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Canes came back and won that game in the third period, and in tonight's game, or last night's game rather, Thursday night's game, it was kind of the opposite. It was tied going into the third period, but nevertheless, the Rangers still, with a come-from-behind victory and a game in which they scored the game-winning goal in the third period, as the Rangers continue to come up clutch in the third period of games this season. I'll have a stat to back that up a little bit later in today's episode, but I wanted to kick off today's episode by talking about Artemi Panarin. I mentioned him just very briefly in the intro just a minute ago there, and he came up big for the Rangers in a game that, once again, felt like a playoff game. And, of course, Artemi Panarin last year in the playoffs came under some fire from Ranger fans, came under some scrutiny, wasn't completely unwarranted because he just did not look like himself for large chunks of the Ranger playoff run last year. Obviously, the Rangers played 20 games. And Panarin, the one thing that I'll always say to kind of defend him a little bit is, yes, he was not at his best, but even with Artemi Panarin playing what might be considered about as poor as he can play, he still ends up with 16 points in 20 playoff games, and he also gets a Game 7 overtime winner to eliminate the Pittsburgh Penguins. That, apparently, is Artemi Panarin at his absolute worst. But the criticisms of Artemi Panarin last year in the playoffs were not completely unwarranted either. There were times where he was just sloppy with the puck. He was, turning the puck over far too often. It got to the point where, we were even speculating, is Artemi Panarin playing injured? Does he have something wrong with him that he's trying to play through? If that was the case, I don't think it was, but if that was the case, the Rangers and Panarin himself did an incredible job keeping that completely under wraps. He just wasn't himself. You watch Artemi Panarin play in the postseason last year, not for all of it, but for a good chunk of the playoff run. He just did not look like the Breadman, but he looked like the Breadman in this game, that is for sure. He had a big hand in each of the Ranger 2 goals, and came up clutch for this team. Obviously a low-scoring game, only 3 total goals scored the entire night, and he had a hand in each of the 2 goals that the Rangers scored. And beyond that, just was one of the more noticeable Rangers. Was skating great. I thought he actually made a couple of nice defensive plays in this game as well. Artemi Panarin, once again, in a game that felt like a playoff game, was possibly the best skater on the ice for either team, and certainly up there, as far as best skaters on the ice in this game. But we'll start by talking about a couple of these goals that he scored here, or a couple of goals that he had a hand in. To begin with, Rangers are down 1-0 in the second period. And as a quick aside, I also just wanted to throw out that as this game went on, it just felt like the Rangers got stronger and stronger, got better and better, just kind of found their game. Not that they were like dogging it in the first period or anything like that, but they just seemed to get it going a little bit, dialed up the intensity a little bit and just made a couple more plays than the Canes did, and that allowed them to come back and ultimately win this game. But as far as the game-tying goal that was scored by Artemi Panarin in the second period here, just a beautiful tic-tac goal that kind of happened a little bit out of nowhere. Nice to see the Rangers score a goal like that. I feel like a lot of the goals that the Rangers have given up in recent games, and there haven't been many, but when it does happen, it feels like sometimes the goal comes a little bit out of nowhere. Even the goal that Sebastian Aho scored in this game, he's got the puck and just straight up the center of the ice and he just shoots and scores. Kind of came out of nowhere. You didn't really sense that a goal was about to happen. But in this case, it's the Rangers scoring a goal kind of out of nowhere. Basically, you've got Panarin scoring off of a feed from Mika Zibanejad. But I want to also point out how this play started, because Mika Zibanejad did a phenomenal job getting control of a puck that was in the Rangers zone. So the puck is along the boards on the right side, maybe about 4 or 5 feet short of the Ranger blue line, so it's still in the Ranger zone. The puck's just laying there, and it's loose, and you've got Mika as well as 2 players on the Canes going for the loose puck. Mika found a way to get there in front of both players on the Canes, and before they could kind of converge on him, try to initiate a board battle, try to get the puck away from him, Mika, really smart play. He gets there first, and he immediately just makes a very simple play, passes the puck back to Adam Fox. Fox is by himself. Now the Rangers have possession, and they can hopefully start to go to work here. And that's exactly what they did, because Adam Fox, now he's got the puck, makes a really nice pass out of the Rangers zone all the way up to, just in front of the Carolina blue line to Vladimir Tarasenko. Tarasenko gains the blue line, carries it over. He's up the right side, and he leaves just a fantastic behind-the-back drop pass for Mika Zibanejad, and he did this while getting checked to the ice. So Tarasenko taking a big hit to keep the play alive there. Mika picks up the puck. He goes up the right side, passes to his left to Artemi Panarin. Panarin's kind of like on the inside portion of the left face-off circle, and he shoots and scores, and just like that, 1-1. This was like a blue-collar goal and a gorgeous goal all wrapped into one. The Rangers really had to work hard just to maintain possession of the puck. The Canes always pressure the puck. That's one thing that always stands out to me anytime the Rangers play them is, they're going to get right in your face whenever you've got the puck, and they were trying to do that here. And they did do that here, but the Rangers were able to kind of, withstand their charge, maintain possession, work hard. But also, some beautiful passing here. So just a really nice goal scored by the New York Rangers. That was also career assist number 300 for Vladimir Tarasenko, and he certainly earned it, as I mentioned, getting checked to the ice while he made that pass to Mika Zibanejad. So that was awesome. But getting back to Panarin here, he also had a huge hand in the game-winning goal. And it happened right after Vincent Trocheck almost scored to give the Rangers the lead. This was a great play by Trocheck here, a great individual effort. Trocheck's going hard up the left side. He veers sharply to his right, goes straight to the net. I don't know if maybe the Canes were anticipating that he was going to pass, or that maybe he just got right by them. I don't know exactly what happened here, but regardless, like I said, great individual effort by Trocheck. Goes hard to the net, basically going parallel along the goal line there, and goes straight across the crease and tries to tuck the puck into the net. Unfortunately, he hit the post. It bounced off the post, went back under the legs of Freddie Andersen, and we got a stoppage of play there. This is as badly as I've been fooled all season. I was celebrating the goal here. I thought for sure, once he got around Andersen and took that shot, I thought I saw it go into the net. Alas, that was not the case, so unfortunate there. We did an episode yesterday. If you haven't watched it, take a look at it. It was an interesting episode to put together. Basically, what I did is I ranked every player on the New York Rangers from most polarizing to most universally beloved, and I had Trocheck as probably like the fifth or so most polarizing Ranger. It is time for Ranger fans to come around on this guy. I don't know what more people need to see. I know he didn't score here, but the effort that he put forward in this situation was incredible. He backchecks like a maniac. He's an absolute beast when it comes to winning faceoffs. He kills some penalties. He'll get in people's faces after the play. He'll stand up for his teammates. I don't know what there's not to like about Vincent Trocheck. And I think most Ranger fans do like Trocheck, but there's a certain, section of Ranger fandom that they're just not on board with this guy. Oh, the contract is 1 or 2 years too long, or he's making like $250K more than he should, or we need Philip Hedl on the second line, not Trocheck. No, Trocheck's been awesome and a very, very important part of this team, and somebody whose game I think is going to translate brilliantly to the playoffs. But unfortunately, he couldn't score here. Getting back to Panarin, though, is the shift after this. Is the shift after this near goal by Vincent Trocheck. And Panarin with a great job here. Rangers go right back into the Carolina zone. Panarin passes over to his right to Adam Fox. Perfect pass and a perfect shot by Adam Fox as well. He shoots into the far side of the net over the right shoulder of Freddie Andersen. And like I said, just an amazing job by Artemi Panarin in this game, coming through in a playoff-like environment, coming through in a game that was played with postseason-like intensity. You got to love it, and hopefully that bodes well and translates well to the Stanley Cup playoffs when the Rangers ultimately get there. And, something else that I think I just want to throw out there real quick. This is a game that, to me, And I thought of this while it was still going. Obviously, you want to win this game. I think it's mutually beneficial for both the Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes to play in a game like this before the postseason. They played each other twice. The previous game had some of that playoff feel to it, but this one, very, very intense right from the opening faceoff, and the Rangers and Canes competing in a couple of, low-scoring, grinded-out type games here against each other. They both had that playoff feel to it, and, I think that certainly benefits both teams going forward. We don't really care so much about the Canes, but I think it certainly benefits the Rangers as they continue their march to the postseason here. So I want to keep everything rolling just a second. I want to just go through some of the highlights of this game. There was so much that happened in this game and so many Rangers that made plays to contribute to this win here. I want to, make sure I don't miss anything, give a shout out to everybody that deserves it, and we're going to do all that good stuff in just a second. But first, we got to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you do not pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Indeed makes it easy to hire great talent. According to ComScore, Indeed is the #1 job site worldwide, and Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest in 2019. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, we're going to go ahead and keep everything rolling here and just talk about some of the highlights from this game. Unfortunately, Ryan Lindgren was back out with an injury. He missed 11 games, came back for the last one, had a little bit of an injury scare in that one, and sat out for this one as well. And, I'll kind of reiterate what I said on a fairly recent episode here. I'd love to have Ryan Lindgren back. He's a huge part of this team. I've referred to him as the heart and soul of the New York Rangers. Very important player. But what's more important than getting him back now, and what's more important than trying to get into second or first place in the division, is making sure that he is ready to go for the Stanley Cup playoffs. He is somebody that the Rangers absolutely need come playoff time. And fingers crossed that, whatever's ailing him, he'll be back to 100% when the playoffs roll around. And however many games he has to miss between now and then to make sure that happens, I'm completely cool with it. Don't put him back out there unless you're sure that he's healthy and ready to go, and unless you're sure that, he's not at a risk of re-aggravating his injury or making it worse. In a perfect world, he'll at least get back for the final 2 or 3 games of the regular season, at the very, very least, because obviously that can be a little bit of a tune-up for him going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. You don't want him to miss like 10 or 11 games down the stretch and then have to jump right into the playoffs. I mean, if that's the case, then so be it. But, hopefully that's not the case, and we get Lindgren back into the lineup, and he's healthy and, like I said, ready to go in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, as a result of Ryan Lindgren not playing in this game, we had Ben Harpur back out there. He was back with Braden Schneider like he usually is on the third pairing, and Nico Mikkola jumps from the third pairing up to the top pairing with Adam Fox. I thought for Harpur this was kind of a rare, shaky performance. There was one situation where the Canes had the puck in the neutral zone, and he really kind of went after the guy with the puck, and they went around him. Next thing you know, it's a 2-on-1. Igor ended up having to make a really nice save there, but a 2-on-1 kind of created by Ben Harpur. There was another little misstep that he had in this game. I don't really remember that one off the top of my head. I just remember, thinking when he had that miscue that led to the 2-on-1, okay, that's Harper's second, kind of mistake of the game here. But, Ben Harpur, like I said, overall has done a pretty nice job for the Rangers as, 6th or 7th defenseman, however you would like to classify him. We had the same lines, too, in this game, and we got to be going for some kind of a record here, at least at the start of games. This has to be like 4 or 5 games where the Rangers have gone with the exact same lineup, the exact same, at least as far as the forwards are concerned, the exact same lineup and the exact same line combinations. Of course, they did switch lines in the second period. You had Kreider with Mika and Kane, and then you had Panarin with Trocheck and Tarasenko. Immediately after that happened, though, you had Tarasenko with a hard drive to the net from the right side, got taken down. There was a penalty on the Canes, and that led to a Ranger power play, of course. And I thought that Tarasenko had a really nice game for the Rangers. There were a couple times where he was able to power his way to the net. And again, I keep using this term, but playoff-like intensity, everything's going to be very tightly contested. And sometimes it's just a matter of willpower. You have to force yourself to those high-danger scoring areas on the net, and Vladimir Tarasenko doing that a couple of different times in this game. He also took the big hit when he made that great pass to Mika Zibanejad, and Mika, of course, set up Panarin for the goal. So I thought this was a really, really strong game for Vladimir Tarasenko. It was a strong game for a lot of Rangers, but I thought he really stood out in a positive way in this game for the Blue Shirts. But to kind of just go through this game, talk about some of the highlights from all the periods here. So I wanted to give a quick shout-out to K'Andre Miller, who early in this game, the Canes had a 3-on-1, and I thought he did a really nice job breaking that up. He went down, knocked the puck away from former New York Ranger Brady Shea, so that prevented a scoring opportunity for the Canes early in this game. We also had a big-time hit from Jimmy Vesey. He got Jack Drury, who is the nephew of Chris Drury, and Schneider had a big hit on Stahl not too long after this. Just a lot of big hits from the Rangers early in this game, doing a nice job of just setting a physical tone. And then Tyler Mott, got to give another shout out to him. He drew another penalty. This is like 3 penalties drawn by Tyler Mott in the last 2 games. But, he draws a penalty in this game. Basically what happened was Drury knocked Mott to the ice, and then Drury cross-checked Mott in the back while Mott was down on the ice. And my first thought was, Chris Drury needs to have a little talk with his nephew here. But it was funny because Rod Brindamore was yelling at the referees after this play was over. And Brindamore, there were a couple of calls in the last game where he was yelling at the refs, and I didn't really have a problem with it because, I thought maybe 1 or 2 calls went against the Canes in the game on Tuesday. But how you could argue this? I mean, the dude blatantly cross-checked somebody who was down on the ice on his stomach. If this isn't a cross-check, I don't know what is. So not sure what he was arguing about there. But then another penalty for the Canes, delay a game. Just 10 seconds later, the Rangers get a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 50 seconds. You got Mika, you got Kreider, Fox, Panarin, and Kane. And the Rangers were not able to score, which you got to be able to cash in on a situation like this. When you have a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 50 seconds, you got to put at least one of those into the net. The only thing that I could really nitpick here is that the Rangers probably weren't shooting enough. They only had 2 shots on goal at the end of this 5-on-3. But the one thing I'll say in their defense is they had some good opportunities. A couple good saves made, a couple shots that maybe just went a little bit wide. There were a couple of instances, though, where, I thought Panarin had a chance to shoot and he passed. Kane, I think the same thing. Both of them were trying to feed each other for goals. And, the Rangers, there was a chunk of this power play here where this line was on the ice where it felt like they were kind of trying to pass the puck into the net. It wasn't like a terrible effort at all. I just wish that there were players on this team at times that would pull the trigger a little bit more often, especially when you've got a 5-on-3. Get that puck at the net, make 1 or 2 passes, and then somebody shoot it. You can't waste the entire power play looking for that extra pass, that perfect shot, whatever it might be. Sooner or later, take the shot and take your chances. So then, we had the goal by Sebastian Aho that gave the Canes the lead at 1-0. He scored glove side. And this was the only blemish as far as Igor Shesterkin is concerned on the night. And I think he might have been screened a little bit by Jacob Trouba here. It's a kind of shot that you're used to seeing Igor stop. But Igor was fantastic in this game. I want to take this opportunity to kind of shout him out as well. And in fact, we're going to do that in just a second here. We'll get to Igor Shesterkin and talk about his strong night. First, though, I do want to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. All on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, so Igor Shesterkin continuing to kind of round into form here, continuing to look like the elite goalie that we all know him to be, continuing to look like the reigning Vezina winner. And I was thinking about this the other day, too, even before this game happened. Rangers are coming down the home stretch here, and I checked the standings. They've played 72 games. There are 10 games remaining. We're at the point right now where that's how long Igor Shesterkin has to get to the absolute top of his game, to get to, being one of, if not the absolute best goalies on this planet, which is what we saw from him last season. And, there's 10 games left. You got to figure at least 2 of them are going to go to Halak. So we're down to single digits here. Igor Shesterkin going to make probably at most 8 more starts between now and the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he's been awesome lately. 29 saves on 30 shots in this game. A lot of really clutch saves as well. 1 or 2 that maybe bailed out one of his teammates. But with Igor, and I can't be alone here, I just always think there's like some other level that he can get to, some other level that he can unlock. That's kind of a little bit of a side effect of everything he did last season when he just had a video game-like season for the New York Rangers. We'll see what he can do down the stretch here. But yeah, with Igor, he's been awesome lately. I think, again, he's got a whole nother level that he can unlock, a whole nother level that he can get to. And the hope, obviously, is that he's at the top of his game, playing to the best of his abilities when the regular season ends. And once we get into the postseason, hopefully by then we see Igor play the best hockey that he's played this entire season. To kind of keep everything rolling here, though, as far as, things that happen in this game, scary moment with Philip Hedl. This was really scary, actually. So Hedl is hit by Kokoniemi near the Ranger bench. And Hedl mostly avoided the hit. There wasn't a whole lot of contact there. But Hedl, in avoiding Kokoniemi, sails into the New York Ranger bench, or it might have been the Canes bench, one of the benches, and his skate goes up into the air and basically hits Hedl in the mouth, which, Hedl was shaken up a little bit. He was checking to make sure he was okay after the play happened. There wasn't really anything that anyone could do here. It's just one of those fluky plays, and, it's very fortunate that things like this don't happen more often in the NHL, but Hedl didn't miss a single shift. Nevertheless, still kind of a scary moment there. And obviously, the Rangers have been, knock on wood, the Rangers have been very fortunate when it comes to injuries this season. Lindgren's missed a handful of games. Hedl missed some games earlier in the season. Kravtsov missed some games, but, did that even affect anything? Probably not that much anyway. So, other than that, I can't think of, any, important player, really even any player, missing significant time for the Rangers this season. And obviously, we hope that that's something that keeps up, for the rest of the season and certainly into the postseason. Something else I want to talk about. So the Rangers, they were in a situation here where they went off for a line change, but the puck was still in the neutral zone. The Rangers weren't able to dump the puck deep. I think a couple of the Rangers assumed that that's what was going to happen. The puck was going to get sent in deep, and they'd have time to get off the ice, get some new guys onto the ice, but that didn't happen. The Rangers were caught in kind of a slow, sloppy line change here. Good scoring opportunity for the Canes. Igor made the save. But that's another thing that I've kind of noticed recently that I think the Rangers can do a little bit better of a job of. The one thing that, I've talked about for a long time is I don't think the Rangers are always at their sharpest in the shift that follows a goal, and you hope that, obviously, they get better there. This is another situation where I'm not going to, completely red flag it and say that it's a serious issue for the Rangers, but it does feel like the Rangers overall, they, more so than their opponents, get caught making a line change at the wrong time, or maybe guys are, a little bit slow getting off the ice, a little bit slow getting onto the ice, whatever it might be, and it leads to a scoring opportunity for their opponents. And again, this is not something that's like a, just horrible habit that they have. It only happens every so often, but I want to get this to the point where it doesn't happen at all, because as we've talked about on here, and as you guys are very well aware, everything is magnified in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you're making mistakes, like you're just not sharp in the shift that follows a goal, or you're taking unnecessary penalties, or you're doing this, just struggling with your line changes, changing lines at an inopportune time, or changing lines a little bit too slow, not having guys get off the ice quick enough, not having guys get on the ice quick enough, something will happen in the playoffs. And that's not just the Rangers. That's any team. If a team makes a bad habit out of that, it will eventually burn them come Stanley Cup playoff time. And it'll probably happen, because this is just the way it works with hockey. It'll probably happen, in a tie game in the third period of a really important game of a playoff series. So I just want to see the Rangers be a little sharper there, be a little bit crisper. It's line changing. It's not rocket science. Make sure the puck is deep when you go off for your line change, and get off quickly and get the new guys on quickly. That's really all you got to do. To me, it's something that should be a fairly simple fix. But fingers crossed that the Rangers do get that taken care of. And again, this is not something that, the Rangers, it happens every single game. It happens multiple times per game, but it does creep in every now and then. And it's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on down the stretch in the regular season to see if they hopefully do a better job in that area. So this was Igor Shesterkin's best save of the night, and this happened in the second period. We're still in the second period when all these things are happening here. Harper, this is the play I was talking about earlier, tried to break up a pass, could not do it, led to a 2-on-1 for the Carolina Hurricanes, pass from right to left on the screen, from the right side of the rink to the left side of the rink, and just a fantastic sliding save by Igor Shesterkin to his right. It was up there as far as, Igor Shesterkin's best save of the night. Had to be at least top 3. We got the aforementioned Panarin goal, tied the game at 1-1, and then Tarasenko with another really strong drive to the net against Brent Burns, of all people, who's like 20 feet tall. Goes back the other way, though, and K'Andre Miller had to prevent a penalty, or had to take a penalty to prevent a goal. And then, this is a cool play by Braden Schneider, and I just wanted to, point this out here. Canes are on the power play, big scramble in front of the Ranger net, puck goes up into the air, and Braden Schneider realizes this and reaches up and just swats the puck like as hard as he could, straight out of the zone, basically into the neutral zone. Very unique way of clearing the puck here, but, heads up play by Braden Schneider on that one. Going into the third period here, we want to talk about the third period. And I want to talk about how good the Rangers have been in the third period in general. They mentioned this stat on the broadcast. Rangers, when tied going into the third period, now 13-2-5 on the season. Actually, now they're 14-2-5 because we got to add this win to the total here. But to me, that's a sign of a team that gets the job done in crunch time. That's a team that plays together, plays hard, is at its best when it needs to be at its best. And that's another thing that bodes very, very well come playoff time. As far as the third period here, we had a situation where Vincent Trocheck got a little shaken up too, and I was holding my breath on this one as well because, he got knocked down on a scramble in front of the Carolina net. He was in front of the net trying to screen Freddie Anderson, got hit in the ankle or the leg by a shot, and so, he had to leave the ice. He was kind of skating on one skate, basically, to get off the ice, but he didn't miss a single shift. He came back out there for his next shift with just 3:42 remaining. And keep in mind, the Rangers are up 2-1 at this point. The Canes end up holding Anderson with 2 minutes left, and the Rangers did a really nice job of defending down the stretch here. Canes had a couple of chances. They're a good team. They've got the 6-on-5 situation. They're going to get a couple pucks at the net, but Igor made some saves, and the Rangers, I thought, overall defended very well here. And this is something that I talked about recently as well, but we saw the fourth line for the Rangers of Mott, Goodrow, and Vesey out there with less than 2 minutes remaining. And as I mentioned recently, I don't want to hear anyone complaining about the Ranger fourth line, being out there when the game is on the line, especially if the Rangers have the lead, because this is what these guys do. It's a good defensive trio. It's a go-to line for situations like this, and I imagine that, come playoff time, once again, there's going to be a game, there's probably going to be multiple games, where the Rangers are trying to protect a one-goal lead late in the third period. We're all going to be losing our minds and having a heart attack watching this, but that's a line that I trust as much as any to get the job done in a situation like that, to be out there protecting that one-goal lead for the New York Rangers. And Goodrow, he actually blocked a shot, but he also lost his skate blade on the play, and trying to get to the bench because, you lose your skate blade, you can't really do much. And it was funny because he was basically crawling across the ice, and Trouba went up behind him and just kind of shoved him toward the bench. So got a little bit of a helping hand from Jacob Trouba there. Heads up play by Trouba. We get an icing against the Rangers with 1:21 left. Timeout by the Carolina Hurricanes. And a couple of situations here where the Rangers almost forced the puck out of the zone. You had Tyler Mott applying tremendous pressure right at the blue line. Could not quite get the puck out of the zone. Mika Zibanejad did the same thing later. The puck was at the left point. He was trying to get it out of the zone, couldn't quite do it. The Canes continued to keep the play alive, but the Rangers, for the most part, once again, defended very, very well here. There was one decent chance that the Canes had. They took a shot, it got blocked, and I think somebody tried to get the rebound in, shot it wide. But other than that, I don't think the Canes came really all that close to getting the equalizer. You got Jacob Trouba with 20 seconds remaining, lifting the puck into the air and out of the Ranger zone. The Canes eventually collect it in their own zone. They try to get through the neutral zone, but Barclay Goodrow steals the puck. About 10 seconds or so to go at this point, and he dumps it into the Carolina zone, and that was it. Time ran out on what was once again an outstanding win for the New York Rangers. I put this up, really close to the top, just because just the intensity of this game, the fact that they had to come from behind, the quality of the opponent, the fact that it was on the road, the fact that they responded to a disappointing loss to this same team just 2 days prior in their own barn, that of course being Madison Square Garden. Just a lot to really, really like about this game. Igor was awesome, and Artemi Panarin once again delivering in a playoff-style game for the New York Rangers, and I think a lot of Ranger fans will definitely like to see that. Look, obviously with Panarin, he's going to have to win over certain fans in the real playoffs when they actually roll around here, but this is still an encouraging development and a positive sign for hopefully what's to come from Artemi Panarin in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I figured we could pretty much call it there for today. I did want to mention, though, they mentioned on the broadcast that the Rangers coming into this game, if they got 10 more points, they would make the playoffs, and 11 points would give them third place. So those two stats, those two numbers are now down to 8 points and 9 points respectively. The Rangers have 10 games left to get 8 points and guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs. I mean, honestly, they probably don't even need 8 points because, you know, if they get like 7 points, then a whole bunch of teams would have to pass them and everything would have to fall perfectly for the Rangers to miss the playoffs, and I just can't possibly see that happening. But, yeah, it'll be nice once they officially clinch, and, you know, they've still got the Devils in their sights and the Canes in their sights. It's possible they could catch them, and we'll see how it all goes. But as I've mentioned, you know, I don't want to just say that home ice advantage doesn't matter at all, but what's more important is making sure you get to the playoffs healthy. So if there's somebody that's shaken up, banged up, needs a game off, could use a game off, could use a mental break, whatever it might be, make sure the player gets exactly that down the stretch here for the New York Rangers. But we'll see how everything shakes out. Very, very curious to see, you know, how the Rangers play it. Will they chase the first or second spot? Gallant has said that, you know, probably not. They would emphasize being healthy for the playoffs, but going to be a very, very fun ride down the rest of the regular season here, and then hopefully right into the playoffs as well. That will do it for today, though, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, at @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is at @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.